Hi gentlemen, let's continue from where you left off in the last lesson. By now you should be familiar with the different structure and function of the different parts in the leaves, because in today's lesson I want to zoom in into the stomata. So let's pay attention to the lower epidermis layer, which is indicated by H. Alright, lower epidermis refers to this whole entire layer of cells found at the bottommost layer of the leaf. And if you pay careful attention over here, you will have noticed that the lower epidermal cell, I would like to emphasize the difference between epidermis and epidermal cell right now. When I refer it as an epidermal cell, it means that it is referring to one cell. But when I refer to the layer known as the lower epidermis, it is referring to the entire layer of cells. I hope that's clear. And you can see that the lower epidermal cells at the bottom do not contain chloroplasts. This is a very important point because later on we'll be learning about how the stomata, indicated by C, alright, one refers as stoma, the size of the stoma, how is it being controlled by the pair of guard cell that is at the site of the stomata. Alright, so let's continue. A little history about stomata. It was discovered by this French physicist which was studying the rate of evaporation from leaves. How does that link to what we are learning now in biology? Let's take a look. As mentioned in class previously, which type of gas enters the stomata? You're right, CO2, because it is needed for photosynthesis. And which gas leaves the stomata? Oxygen, because that is the byproduct, alright, of photosynthesis. So it's released in photosynthesis. But apart from these two gases that enters and leaves the stomata, there is actually one more substance that leaves the stomata, and that is water vapor. Water vapor is a form of gas, so it diffuses out of the stomata into the surrounding. We'll talk more about these in the last part of the chapter on respiration. So do take note of the substances that enters and leaves the stomata. Let's pause and take a look at this video. In this video, I would like you to pay attention to how the gut cells regulate the stomata, the size of the stomata in particular.
During photosynthesis, stomata play a critical role by regulating the exchange of gases, particularly carbon dioxide and oxygen, between the plant and its environment. Stomata are tiny openings found mostly on the underside of the leaves. The stomata can be opened and closed by specialized cells, called guard cells. These cells are shaped like crescent moons or sausages, and there are 2 of them for each stomatal pore. When stomata are open, they allow carbon dioxide to enter the leaf, which is then used by the plant to produce glucose, food, through photosynthesis. At the same time, oxygen, a byproduct of photosynthesis, is released through the stomata into the atmosphere. At night, when sunlight is not available, the rate of photosynthesis significantly decreases, and the need for CO2 intake is greatly reduced. Closing the stomata at night helps to conserve water by reducing transpiration, which is the loss of water vapor. This is particularly important in arid environments, where water conservation is essential for plant survival. When the sun rises, guard cells open the stomata, and photosynthesis continues. Worksheets relating to this short video.
I hope this video helps you to better appreciate how the stomata opening, the size of it is controlled by the pair of gut cells. In the next few slides, we'll talk about how the gut cells, in particular, if you pay attention to this micrograph over here. So micrograph refers to photograph taken under the microscope. So the gut cells can be seen over here, that as the opening of the stomata is seen right in the middle. So what is the function of gut cells? Pay attention. Number one, it contains chloroplast, which means that the gut cell is capable of photosynthesizing. This is a very important point to understand why it opens and closes the hole right in between it. As mentioned, it's apart from letting carbon dioxide to diffuse in for photosynthesis, it also allows oxygen and water vapor to diffuse out of it. So these are the three substances that will move in and out of the gut cell. Will move in and out of the stomata, and the size of the stomata is controlled by the gut cell. So how does the gut cell control the size of the stomata? Alright, so let's take a look over here. In the day when there's light, gut cells are able to carry out photosynthesis. And this causes it to form sugar molecules inside. So imagine, inside of the gut cell, alright, due to photosynthesis, the concentration of glucose increases. So when the concentration of glucose increases, what would happen to the water potential? The water potential inside the gut cell will decrease, as compared to the neighboring cell that has a lot of water. Alright, so I'll just point another arrow out in another color. Alright, so neighboring cell would have a higher water potential as gut cells. So what would happen to the gut cell? Water would start to enter into the gut cell, right, from the neighboring cell via the process of osmosis, and this causes the gut cell to become turgid. And when it's turgid, it changes its shape and will curve outwards, pulling the stoma, the size of it in the middle, alright, to open widely. This will allow more carbon dioxide to enter the plant for photosynthesis in the day, as the condition is perfect because there is light, there's carbon dioxide entering, and water being taken from the roots. But as a trade-off, more water vapor is lost through the stoma, and we'll cover more about that when we are talking about transpiration. So what will happen in the dark? When it is in the dark, the gut cell is not capable of photosynthesizing. Alright, so there is no photosynthesis that can take place inside the gut cell in the darkness. So when there's no photosynthesis, there will be no sugar that will be formed. So what is the majority that can be found inside the gut cell? That would be water. So the water potential in the gut cell is higher than the neighboring cells. As a result, water will then leave the gut cell into the surrounding. Via osmosis, it loses its shape and becomes flaccid, and then it causes the size of the stoma to become smaller. This also explains why less carbon dioxide enters the leaf in the dark, because number one, there's no light to carry out photosynthesis, and there's no need to be taking in carbon dioxide for photosynthesis as well. So in the day, it opens the stoma, and at night, the stoma closes. Another thing to take note, when it is very hot and sunny, it causes water to evaporate faster via evaporation. Right, so the rate of evaporation increases as a result of that. And when the leaves loses too much water, the gut cell will also lose a lot of water to the surrounding. And this causes the gut cells to become flaccid, causing the stoma to close. This is a natural response that the plant has to prevent further loss of water during a hot and sunny day. So it closes for water conservation, right? To save water. Lastly, in this video, you will also need to know how carbon dioxide and water reaches the mesophyll cells in the leaf. Mesophyll cell here refers to the palisade and spongy mesophyll cells where photosynthesis occurs. So we need to be able to draw the connection to explain how the two important raw material of photosynthesis are taken into the cells, more specifically the mesophyll cells where photosynthesis occurs. So let's take a look over here. You may pause the video and look at the different events that have been listed on your worksheet and help to arrange from 1 to 5. Pause to try out on your own before continuing the video. Now, let me reveal the answer by bringing you through step by step of how carbon dioxide enters the leaf. Number 1, we need to understand why carbon dioxide enters the leaf. It's because photosynthesis requires carbon dioxide. So when photosynthesis occurs in the mesophyll cell, as indicated by all this asterisk that I'm drawing across the picture, alright, so all these are mesophyll cells. Alright, when photosynthesis uses up carbon dioxide, there is a lower concentration of carbon dioxide in the leaf. So I indicate over here, lower CO2 concentration in leaf. As the surrounding has a higher concentration of CO2, CO2 diffuses, take note, alright, diffuses through the stomata and enter the airspace in the leaf. This is the intercellular airspace that can be found between the mesophyll cell, as seen in point number 2. Next, carbon dioxide then dissolves in this thin film of moisture that I am coloring right now, which surrounds all the mesophyll cell. It will first dissolve in it before entering the cytoplasm of the mesophyll cell and eventually reaches the chloroplast, where photosynthesis occurs. So in the day, as photosynthesis occurs throughout the day, the concentration in the leaf will always remain low. So carbon dioxide from the atmosphere will then diffuse in, dissolve, and then diffuse again into the mesophyll cell. So remember this, diffuse into the intercellular airspace, dissolve in the thin film of moisture, and diffuse into the cytoplasm of the mesophyll cell. Then how do leaf cells receive water and mineral salt? First thing first, water enters through the root hair by osmosis, whereas mineral salt enters by diffusion and active transport. Active transport occurs when there is a lower concentration of mineral salt in root hair cells as compared to surrounding. So as mineral salt is needed for the plant's growth and survival and development, when there is little mineral salt inside the root hair, it can undergo active transport, where it uses energy to bring the mineral salt from a lower concentration to a higher concentration. Apologies, I made a mistake over here. Let me clear the pen marking and redo this slide over here. Active transport happens when there is a lower concentration of mineral salt in soil as compared to root hair cells. So it's working against the flow, right, from lower to higher concentration region. In order to go from low to high, energy is required. Hence, active transport occurs when this condition happens. Then, from the root, it will go up the xylem in the stem before it reaches the vascular bundle. As you can see over here, this is one vascular bundle in the leaf. So from the xylem, it will enter through the vascular bundle of the leaf, where the xylem continues to bring water and minerals to the mesophyll cells that are found in the leaves. So for example, xylem, which contains the highest water potential. Alright, so the water will undergo osmosis to the neighboring cell so that it can use the water for photosynthesis in the leaf. So that's all for this particular video. I'd like you to finish up the checkpoint questions and then we'll go through in class on Monday. There's part 2, another video for 9.2, and please spend some time over the weekend to look through and pay attention to the video while filling up your notes. See you on Monday.